18-wheelers are cool if you're watching Fast and the Furious. But in real life, they're incredibly scary. Getting hit by one can change your entire life. And this next caller is in exactly that position. Injured, they know they need a lawyer, but it's so hard. Billboards.
Honk honk for the bulldozer. I got your back in court.
Radio ads. TV jingles.
Call 469 the trucks. Call this lawyer right now.
How do you find someone that's going to take care of your case when millions of dollars are on the line? Stay tuned, we're going to see it happen.
I was involved in an accident. I have been getting treated for injuries over the past year and am interested in how to approach a lawsuit for the company that hit me.
Okay, well, I think you called in on the right day. We actually have a car accident expert here. Steve Slough is here. So tell us what happened.
I was on a journey return home for the holidays. I was going down Interstate 40. As I was parallel to an 18-wheeler, he merged into me, causing an accident. And I've been dealing with issues from that accident ever since.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit more about the actual accident itself?
Yeah, so speed limit was 75. I was going down the left lane. Truck was going maybe 45, 50. Decided it wanted to pass a car in front of it. Merged right in front of me as I was parallel to it, causing an accident. Driver didn't know that he hit me, drove for a couple more miles.
Wow.
So was chasing him down, trying to get his attention, finally pulled over. And that's where we were at as far as they accepted full responsibility for the claim. But I've had all these medical bills stack up and would like to see what we can do to take care of that.
Wow. So the driver just kept going even after they hit you.
Yeah. And they even, they have it on video. So the insurance company has or had the video of him just completely ignoring the accident for probably 3 or 4 miles.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about the injuries. You know, what have you had to be dealing with since that accident?
Yeah, so it just started with neck pain that eventually went through my shoulder, and then my extremities on the right side became very numb. I kind of just figured everything would be okay, and thought it would kind of sort itself out. A few months into it, I woke up one day and felt like I had completely broken my neck. I couldn't sit up. Couldn't really walk, and booked an appointment with a chiropractor to take a look at it. Got some MRIs done, or got an MRI done. There's significant trauma to my neck. Went through treatment with him for a few months. Got to feeling better on a kind of a day-to-day. I'd go get treated, feel better for a few days, go get treated again. Got a lot of shots. Was on painkillers for a long time. That flared back up, went to another chiropractor who's been treating me for the remainder of the past year. So it's just been kind of an ongoing process of kind of treating injuries and dealing with significant pain.
It's a terrible circumstance. And fortunately, some things that we've heard about. I'm curious, Steve, in your experience dealing with truck accidents, is it common to see this kind of delayed impact from injuries? So you have the initial accident, you kind of look at yourself, and then months later, things flare up?
Absolutely. So spinal injuries, they can flare up anytime. And that's why it's good that you have the MRI done. Do you know what the results of the MRI are?
Yeah, so my one of my discs had flared out and was compressing my spinal cord.
Okay, this is your cervical spine, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what level and how far out it was protruding?
It was like 2.5 mils out, I think, but I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, so that's a pretty decent hit. But yeah, we see this all the time where spinal injuries are come and go. Some days you're okay, some days you're not. Super common and super unfortunate.
Now, did you have a pre-existing history of spinal injuries or like previous surgeries in your record?
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
Wow. I'm personally curious because this is not the type of work that I did historically as an attorney. When we're looking at these kinds of injuries, are there other things that can happen as a result of the spinal injury? Because it sounds like this is a pretty good hit, like you said. What does this end up happening if you don't get it treated the right way?
Yeah, it sounds like you're having what's called radiculopathy, to where you're having neurological issues in your extremities. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, radiated down through shoulder with a lot of stabbing shoulder pain, and then it ended up reading all the way down to I wasn't able to pick things up with my right hand. My hand would go numb from time to time.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse with time if it's not addressed appropriately. So it sounds like so far you have done, I guess, what I would call the preliminary steps, but as Bill kind of referenced, there are going to be some things in the future that you're going to need an appropriate doctor to talk to you about.
What kind of doctor would you recommend?
Well, definitely an orthopedic surgeon.
Have you seen an orthopedic surgeon?
I haven't seen a surgeon. I've been referenced one, but I haven't made it up because he wanted to throw needles in the back of my neck, and I was a little bit.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Was generally speaking, you've got 3 levels of treatment. You've got chiropractic or physical therapy treatment, and then your next is pain management. And I'm not talking about pain pills. I'm talking about what you talked about: epidural steroid injections, another series of injections. And I know that those injections bother people. But it's definitely something to look into and to complete, obviously the third step is surgery.
We had a caller before this. Did the truck driver have 2 working eyes, and was he legally blind?
Yeah. He was with a big nationally known company and backed by a large insurance company as well. So.
Okay.
Do you have an attorney?
So I spoke to an attorney who's kind of a newer attorney and didn't really know the best way to approach it, and advised me to look at somebody who was more experienced to see if somebody wanted to help out.
So, Steve, in that circumstance, what are the kind of good questions, especially for our listeners, but also for our caller, Mr. Walker? What are the kinds of questions that need to be asked to make sure that you're getting the right attorney that knows how to handle this kind of case and this kind of injury? Yeah,
right off the bat, you're going to want to look for somebody that obviously handles trucking cases. Trucking case is going to be a lot different than just a regular car accident case. And you're going to have more significant injuries in a trucking case, and there's going to be a different set of rules for not just liability purposes, but for potentially even punitive damages with respect to the trucking company. So you're going to, if you don't hear the term FMCSR or Federal Motor Carrier Safety Rules when you're speaking to an attorney about a major trucking case, that might be a red flag that they don't know what they're doing.
So how does he go about finding an attorney that knows what they're doing, or what should his next steps be?
Definitely look at content out there. Any attorney that handles cases like this is going to be producing content that tells the general population what the rules are, what they have handled in the past, and really their website and their other content. The other content they're putting out there is focusing on just providing knowledge to the general public of some of the things that they've handled and just kind of what the law is.
So let's role play. If this was your client, right? What are your next steps?
Next steps would be probably sitting down with you and having a very serious conversation about the pain management, the injections. I get that you don't want to do that, but it would be something that we would definitely sit down in person and have a conversation about. And
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but besides the fact that the injections may be able to assist with the pain that the caller's in, explain what the range of outcomes for what a settlement might look like be with injection or without.
It's ultimately, the injections are just kind of the second level. Mm-hmm. It's ultimately, you got to get to an orthopedic surgeon. That's going to be the most important part. If you are someone that has had chiropractic treatment, has had pain management, and has had surgery, you could be looking at $1 million settlement. It just depends on what surgery you have, how much it costs. But the more medical treatment you have, the worse your injury is, the better your settlement's going to be.
Now, with this caller specifically, how long did you go in between the accident and getting your treatment started?
So from accident to first treatment was 3 months, maybe 3.5.
Go ahead.
That doesn't bother. I mean, I think a lot of attorneys will say that's too long of a time. Here's what a defense lawyer is going to say is, let's say if you're in an accident on day 1 and you're in the chiropractor's office on day 2, they're going to say, well, look, this guy knows he's got a lawsuit. He just jumped into treatment right away, and he's rigging the system. He knows what he's doing. He's trying to use this lawsuit to get free medical treatment. On the flip side, they can say, well, he waited 3 months, didn't do anything. Obviously, nothing was wrong. Some attorney got involved and told him to go to the chiropractor. Both of those scenarios are easily defeatable because in your instance, as you've already said, you probably don't want to start incurring a bunch of medical bills. And I think it's easy to say, yeah, look, I dealt with the pain for as long as I could, didn't want to incur a bunch of medical bills, but it got to the point where I couldn't deal with it anymore. And guess what? I had an MRI and it reveals significant damage. So, take your I waited too long argument and, shove it.
So
Right. And if I could just interject real quick.
Yeah,
The MRI was after I went to, like a general practice physician for, maybe a month of treatments. And they were like, this is worse than we think we can handle. You need to go see a specialist. You need an MRI. So that's when we started moving forward with trying to figure out what was wrong internally.
How long was the MRI after the initial accident?
I'd have to check the date. It was probably a month after starting treatment and getting a bunch of shots and a bunch of painkillers and it not helping.
So probably a total of 4 to 5 months after.
Yeah, probably 4 months after. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that.
Okay, awesome.
So let's shifting gears a little bit. I get a little suspicious when folks are like, you know what, we're going to take responsibility and hey, don't worry, we'll make sure that you get taken care of, because they have a motivation to not really take responsibility as far as possible. Is it possible that this is the one trucking company and one insurance carrier that's like, you know what, we're on your side, and they act honestly? Sure, possibly. But Steve, I'm curious, a little bit of the concerns are actually, before we get to your analysis of it, Mr. Walker, when you talk to the trucking company, they say they're taking full responsibility. What is their solution that they're offering in this situation? Are they saying, "Hey, come on down, we'll get you the check"?
So they took responsibility of the accident and they paid to fix my vehicle.
Yeah, but they're really only accepting liability. So
Right.
there's two issues here. There's liability and there's damages. I think a lot of times trucking companies will accept liability for the crash, but they're not going to accept anywhere close to 100% of your damages. And that's where a good attorney gets involved. And
So you are a good attorney. Based on what you're hearing right now, what do you think a case like this, like the size that the caller should be shooting for?
definitely 6 figures. I mean, without a doubt. You're going to have at least $1 million insurance policy on the trucking company, probably. And if they're a big company, probably don't even need to worry about the limits. I think I think the first thing you need to do is make sure you're getting the proper treatment to get better. And you need to understand that you're going to get compensated. Your medical bills are going to be covered and you're going to have a lot of money left over.
Question, if you're meeting with an attorney and you're trying to find what sort of organization of documents and treatment and things of that nature do you want to bring to your initial meeting, so you're not just walking in with just nothing in your pockets? And what sort of like files would you want to have so you have all the information of the case?
Just a list of who your medical providers are. So I always tell clients, anything that you think is important, bring it. But as long as, you could honestly bring us absolutely nothing, as long as you have the police report number, and as long as you can remember who your medical providers are. That's it. And that's an important thing, because if you have an attorney that's telling you, yeah, we need you to go get your medical records, we need you to provide us your medical bills, we need you to provide us this, we need you to provide us that, that's a red flag. Because we spend a lot of time, we have staff members that spend a lot of time collecting medical records and medical bills and getting those things for the clients. And that's a huge red flag. If an attorney's telling you, I need you to go do all this, you're doing the attorney's job. You should not hire that attorney.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
One interjection. If your insurance company told you that you didn't need a police report, they would handle it, but there's video of the incident, would that suffice, or is that a problem?
As an attorney, what I would do right away is send a preservation letter to the insurance company. A preservation letter sets forth that you must retain, in this case, the video. And if you don't, you can tell the jury that the trucking company or the insurance company, you can't bring up insurance in court.
You
but
have a copy of it, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that's
But wait, did they say no? Don't get a police report at the time of the accident. When you chase down the driver, and he pulls over, and he's like, what did he say? And why were the police not called then?
Yeah, so instead of calling the police, I called my insurance agent, right? And she was like, "Oh, you can just continue on. Just get pictures of the truck, picture of the license, the trailer number, his ID, and we'll just start a claim as soon as you get back." Because I was on my way home with my dogs, and she just told me to just go ahead and hit the road.
And they haven't disputed it, right? Like they've accepted liability, so I don't think that.
Yeah, they paid out 100% of the claim.
Okay, cool. Caller, do you have any other questions for right now?
I do have one quick point.
Jump in, Bill.
Which is they didn't accept liability on the highway, right? And so my concern.
Correct. Yeah, I started a claim.
They fought it, right? They went
to
to mediation.
Yeah, it went to subjugation, and they eventually, my insurance was like, "If you guys don't think this is your fault, you guys are clearly smoking crack." And they said, "Okay, we don't smoke crack; it's our fault."
The old smoking crack argument. It works. It works. Unorthodox, but it works. My only concern there is that if the insurance agent is saying while you're standing on the side of the highway, "Hey, don't worry about the report," you didn't know about the accepting of liability till much later down the road. Mm-hmm. So if on the side of the road, you're, in that moment, I would say, Steve, I'll defer to your experience here. What is typically the case with while you're on the side of the road?
Yeah, you need to protect yourself. You need to get a police report done. You need to call the police. You got to have them come out. You are never going to be penalized for going above and beyond and protecting yourself. And I hate to say it, but insurance companies are just not going to take care of you the way that you need to be taken care of. Either if it's their insurance company or yours, don't rely on them because it's not going to happen.
Right. And one of the reasons that I did wait on treatment was because they were fighting the liability of it, and I didn't want to be out of pocket for the medical. So that was another reason for the delay on the medical treatment.
Yeah, and that's a tough situation. That's why it's important to get an attorney right away.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we're going to stay in touch with you, and we're going to get you some contact with some attorneys, maybe even Steve, that can help you with what you've got. I'm sorry that you're in pain, but I'm glad that you called. And thank you for calling Hardly Legal.
Okay. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a circumstance like that actually in Missouri. I was driving home from college back to St. Louis and was going up a road. There was about 4 18-wheelers, and one of them ended up pushing me off the road, and he didn't contact me because I saw that it was happening, and so I start edging onto the shoulder, and actually my 2 right wheels slipped off the side, and I ended up going down into a ditch. Fortunately, I was driving an extremely shitty Taurus with an epic sound system, but nothing was damaged. I wasn't injured, but it was if I hadn't been paying attention, that guy would have just crushed right into me because he was not looking at all. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, the number of trucks on the road is just going up and up and up, and the the vehicles just seem like your ants compared to that behemoth that's going down the road.
I had a 1995 Nissan Pathfinder with an unbelievable sound system. Unbelievable sound system.
Hell yeah!
What was the song that was playing during your wreck? Because last wreck, I had "Dreaming" by Vanessa Williams on.
Oh,
as I'm hitting somebody, and it was jarring. I can't listen to the song anymore.
I'm fairly certain I would have been listening to 311. So I think that was the time. Maybe Amber by 311. But no, it really is. It's a really dangerous situation, and I really appreciate the insights on it because I think a lot of people don't understand how many accidents are happening. They'll go their whole lives without having an accident because of just sheer luck. And then knowing there are tens of thousands every month of commercial vehicles and trucks specifically hitting cars on the road. Maybe it's forcing them off. Maybe it's hitting them. I mean, heck, I had a lady who hit the back of my SUV, a little Volkswagen Golf, on the highway. We're all going 75 miles an hour right here in Texas, in Dallas. She hits me in the back right corner. Classic police pit maneuver.
Yep.
So what did she...
Accidental pit?
Accidental pit. All right. Accidental pit. Little tiny little 2-door car, and hits me, spins me all the way around to the point where I actually could see the front of her car. We're going 75 miles an hour.
You're just
and
looking
I'm
at each
backwards, and I'm like... And I was actually on the phone, like on a speakerphone with one of my colleagues, and I just start going, oh, f***, oh, f***, oh, f***, and then there's a loud crash because she pit maneuvered me into an 18-wheeler that was in the far left.
No.
And so I hit directly on the rear wheels of the actual, not the trailer, but the rear wheels of the actual cab itself.
Yeah.
So I bounce off, car's great, car was solid, roll to a stop, car's completely fucked, totaled, whole thing's done. Almost no damage on the 18-wheeler, basically no damage on the VW, and suffice to say, it wasn't the 18-wheeler's fault. He was fine. They let him go pretty quickly. But the police came, and that's why I really was pushing on that question, was in that moment, especially if you're by yourself on a remote area, you don't really know what's going on. There can be really some concerns there.
Yeah, and one of the things that we didn't really touch on with the caller was, and you had brought up this what's referred to as a gap in treatment. The reason why he didn't get medical treatment was because of the liability dispute, and that liability dispute is not coming in to evidence at trial. As us lawyers know, insurance is not admissible at trial, and he would not be able to tell a jury that the reason why I didn't get medical treatment is because the insurance companies were fighting over liability.
He could say, I didn't think I could afford it.
Yeah,
at the
he
time.
can.
Yeah.
He can. But
Financial reasons.
yeah, you can. There's ways around that, but it does suck that he has to at least have that explanation, and he can't even tell the truth. That's ridiculous.
But in this situation specifically where there's liability established, we're talking about ranges, right? So like maybe the argument reduces his damages, but he's not going to eliminate them.
Yeah, but that's why I kept saying you should have gotten an attorney right away.
Yeah.
Is because the attorney's going to tell you, yeah, these insurance companies can do whatever you want. I could care less what they want, what they say. That's not coming into evidence at trial. I can tell you with 100% certainty that guy's at fault. We need to get you medical treatment now.
Well, they can use it against you. The fact, right? You're saying he can't give the full circumstance that says, well, they were fighting about it,
right.
But he's going to have to live with the fact that maybe his delay in treatment, whether the reason was because he didn't have the money or not, ultimately contributed to the problem.
He's legally bound to not allow himself to tell the truth.
You've dealt with a lot of semi-accidents. How many don't know that they've hit someone? Because I feel like that's
wild.
That's a lot more common than you would think, right? It's
Yeah.
like they don't know. Like I don't think that guy was like, "Oh, I hit someone, I need to leave." He just didn't know. How common is that?
Very, yeah, it happens a lot, and it's unfortunate. It's terrible. I mean, it really is rough, and it happens. And I cannot tell you how many situations where clients have been like, yeah, I had to follow this guy for 3-4 miles, and thankfully his car was able to be driven that far. I mean, imagine the situation where that happens and your airbags are deployed and you're on the side of the road and that guy's gone. Yeah. And you have no idea who the trucking company is.
Well, leave a comment below if you call it a semi, an 18-wheeler, or a big rig. But we're excited to be able to help folks. If you've dealt with an 18-wheeler accident or you got a story that you want to share, leave that in the comments. Hit like and subscribe. And thanks for listening to Hardly Legal.
If you have a crazy legal story and you want to talk to some lawyers anonymously, for free, call us.
Wait, we're not getting paid?
Nothing at all. I don't know how we're going to pay for it, to be honest.